in that Inox is 9-1 all-time record in promotion matches.
Yeah.
He's won every series he's been in, dropped a single game total. And Chris, though he does drop out of the LCS constantly, has qualified.
He always comes back.
Yeah,
Chris
he qualifies every time he's coming up from Challenger. So the question is, who's going to hold on to it this time around as we get ourselves into Champion Select and the bans start? Of course, we are on 5.15 here in North America, so that means that Fiora ban is here for a very good reason.
So Fiora banned out, yes. Gangplank is left up, though. He's another... Oh, wow, that didn't take long, did it?
No, it didn't.
All right, well, top lane Gangplank for Chris, and that is a great champion for him to just smash his lane. Oh, Flares on Riven would be interesting. Carry matchup here. But anyways, Gangplank is a great champion for him that he can take over the game. We've even seen it used mid lane to great effect. The mid-game damage of Trinity Force barrel crits can take out a whole team. You have to be so careful when playing against Gangplank. As the enemy team, you have to split up. You can't afford to have multiple people get hit by a barrel late in the game at any time, or else you lose that team fight, you lose an objective after it.
Absolutely true. So you got to watch out for that one. And what's interesting as well is Gangplank can be a bit of a flex pick. We've seen him played mid lane.
Yep, very, very well.
So it's always interesting to see. We saw Trashy hover Azir for a while, but they decided that Elise and Braum were actually much more important right now. So Azir at least 4th priority here. The question is if Inox thinks he has a counterpick for it, as they are red side, and NME did in fact pick red side for all of their games. This is their side choice here.
You can see their focus on the jungle. They talked about it in the video already. They've double banned Shrimp as well as first round picking away Elise from him. Plus on this patch, since this is 5.15, that is the nerfed spear for Nidalee. A bit harder to hit them as well as the damage.
Right.
So definitely shrinking the jungle pool as much as they can to try and keep the star player there from coast down.
Shrimp took a second to hover on the Nunu, one of his junglers that he typically plays once the Rek'Sai and the Evelynn are gone, but not going to go for that right now. Tristana left up. They picked that one up right away, so with only Kalista off the table, that's the pickup there. Mash, a good clean up AD carry. Braum picked up means Alistar's going to be, up against it, and Coast really not picking anything too surprising right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a top lane carry like Gangplank, yes, it is. It's great for that mid game. However, you need to bring a front line from either jungle or support, and Alistar's the only really strong frontline support tank that you can bring. So maybe they're trying to free Shrimp up, because this is also nerfed Echo, nerfed tank Echo on 5.15 as well. So
yeah,
that was taken down a little bit. Maybe they're just trying to have some frontline Alistar presence there. Yeah. Braum and Alistar are pretty much the two.
Yeah, they're the two big ones, but Shen comes through. So against Gangplank, to pick a melee champion for Flares in Shen, that'll be an interesting one to look for. Lucian's going to pair up with Braum down in the bottom lane. Gragas is still left up. Shrimp played it in this Challenger Finals if he wants another tank for himself there, and Pekin Wolf now has to pick his champion as well.
Yeah, I was really wondering what they were going to do with Flares as far as champion pool was going to go this time around, because he really did struggle at the end of the normal season for LCS. And we'll see what he's been able to do. It's good, Young Buck as the top laner has been working very closely with him. We'll see how he pulls the Shen off. Can lane safely versus most champions. Gangplank, fairly difficult though. Interesting that we have a Nunu here for Shrimp. I'd like to see him go for some of those early invades.
Yeah, he's actually quite good on this Nunu as well.
The other thing,
buff.
Enemy don't usually pick a lot of wave clear mid laners for Inox, so if they actually don't pick a wave clear for this time around for Inox as well, then it'd be very short on wave clear, and that would be good for the Nunu team to press up all the waves and then go for those invades. We'll see what he does, though, if Inox tries to go assassin or not.
Yeah, I got to see what his style ends up being. We saw a second ago St. Vicious wearing a pink bow tie, doing his best GBM impression up on stage. I'm very surprised he's wearing that one, but if there's a man to do it, I guess St. Vicious is the one. Yeah, full comp comes through. Heavy damage from Coast. Nunu and Alistar going to be the paired frontliners here. Otherwise, Trist and GP and Azir doing plenty of damage.
Yeah, I like the double lock-in with Nunu and Azir as well. The extra attack speed there. He's got multiple Blood Boil targets. They've got plenty of damage, and they will buff up the Alistar front line also with the Nunu, so he'll just be trying to soak damage. They have plenty of damage output with the 3 carries, so very well-rounded Coast squad right now, actually. They have a lot of objective control as well.
All right, interesting. So the AP Kog'Maw comes through for Inox, one of his better champions for sure. And up against Azir, you talked about lack of wave clear, pushing power, and whatnot, and Kog kind of stands alone as a wave clear champion here, and he's not the best at it. So enemy looking for some poke. And that'll be their goal in this one.
He will pretty much be all their wave clear, aside from the culling from Otter here. So we'll have to see if they can protect that mid lane. Yes, Kog'Maw will still take a while to ramp up, trying to get that poke game going.
You know what's interesting is, as much as Braum is a pretty good turret defender, you put the shield up and you can block a lot of attacks. Both Azir's W and his base auto attack bypass that for hitting turrets here. So there's actually some siege that can still happen regardless.
Also, it's even dangerous for Braum to try and do that. If Gangplank is actually really good at zoning out for sieges, so he can almost nullify that, because even Braum does not want to get close to one of those once you get Trinity Force and Infinity Edge completed.
Well, it's going to be fun to see how it's going to get played out here. Chris, one of the big carries for their team with Shrimp on Nunu. He's not going to be the big farm hog in this one. So watching how this Gangplank does, watching how Flares stacks up now, playing against you would expect to be a weaker team, as Flares had a pretty bad split. That's the guy who needs to try to hold down. We'll see if he can do it. Going to get ourselves into the game. So you guys at home, start casting your votes for the team you think will come out on top. Tweet hashtag NME win or hashtag CST win at LPL eSports. We'll check in throughout the series to see how you guys are calling it. But an LCS spot is on the line. The best of 5 that determine who's going to be the next team to join Renegades and the other 7 teams waiting in the wings for the spring split here. To get ourselves into game 1, let's see how these two teams shape up.
Yeah, I really did actually like that draft phase from Coast. They have a lot of objective control as well as zone control. NME definitely going to try and make some early picks here with the Elise, though, and they've got the Shen ultimate to back them up. We'll see what Trashy can get done here versus Shrimp.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
And I'm really curious to see what effect these two coaches have on their teams. St. Vish has gotten so many teams into the LCS.
True enough.
His play on Curse, his leadership on Curse Academy that became Gravity, got them in as well.
All right, well, they did see this invade. Coast were able to get their defensive ward down first, so they're going to get some on the exit pass.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
That'll be interesting to watch for. Yeah, so the deep invade comes through, as you mentioned, the ward's coming down into the jungle. Mash gets the easy uncontested ward. Actually, surprisingly, puts one down in the lane there, but there's what I'm more interested in, the one that actually watches the jungle camp start. And the uncontested warding allows them to spot whatever they want to see. Enemy are staying in this jungle, though, and because most of them left by recalling, Coast can't know who's still there.
Yeah, I have a feeling that they're going to get this early blue off without being seen. Let me just check at what time that last ward was dropped. Okay, that will expire by the time that they finish their jungling inside blue side. So we'll see if Shrimp decides, or just has a feeling.
Yeah, he can easily go red to blue
quadrant
and run right across the map. Yeah, exactly. All right, enemy are spotted on their way down. Otter and Body Drop known to be in the bottom lane. And so that means the enemy are actually getting a very greedy jungle start. There is no help at all on this side of the map, but their trinket wards make sure no one's coming around. Players will let Trashy last at the first one. He will take the small wolves as Shrimp and Chris are duo jungling themselves.
Yep, give the money over to the top laner, so he'll be able to go buy extra potions when he finishes.
There we go, blowing up the barrels, doing the normal things that top laner Gangplank does in this jungle. 27 gold for him. Give that to Shrimp, and there's the recall. Okay, so pretty quick run through.
Ah, he does not have a magical jungle sense. He will find that everything has already been taken from him. So that initial start there from NME will net them pretty much an entire quadrant. Yeah. But, you know, first signal, he sees the wolves are gone. Let's see how many seconds. It was about 30 seconds there that he did waste going to the other side, but he'll try and catch up as quickly as possible here, moving over to the blue side.
And now there is an enemy esports dual lane around. Theoretically, Braum could turn back and contest Nunu on that blue buff. Shrimp does have his smite up right now, so securing wouldn't be too hard, and looks like he will not be stopped getting this buff.
Yeah, doesn't look like they want to try and fall back into there. I mean, it would, at most, it would draw Alistar out of lane as well, and Nunu still can very easily take that buff under harassment with the consume, so should be fine catching up, but he will be a little bit slower.
Shrimp will continue to stay in the jungle. Of course, Elise plenty fast, so we'll see how much more gets taken around, but Nunu is grabbing the Wolves right now, and he might just get the full quadrant. We'll see what happens to the Gromp. Meanwhile, we watch the bot lane fight. Enemy right now not getting a lot of damage done. In fact, we have a small lead for MASH in this matchup.
Yeah.
Shrimp leaves a small Wolf. It's actually counter-jungling quite well.
Quan going for the combo right there. Actually, didn't get any harass really off at all for it. Just used up a bunch of mana. They do have some deep wards here, though, so bottom lane can continue shoving. It's always a good feeling on Tristana. Also getting Alistar through the early stages.
Definitely quite nice for them. All right, so all is well on the bottom lane. 2 CS lead when the lanes match back up and the waves get mirrored yet again. Otherwise equal. Gold, jungle, antics haven't meant too terribly much this game overall. Maybe plus or minus 1 camp, but that's not too huge.
Yeah.
Watch the mid lane matchup, and NACS also equal with Peak and Wolf.
Do want to keep track of the health on that bottom turret as well. Not only is Smash trying to shove in to deny CS under the turret, but as soon as they can start getting some damage on it as well, may wait for the 7-minute buff to fall off, champion damage reduction to fall off. But as soon as they can start moving that Tristana around and take out the outer turrets, it makes their game for controlling zones around the neutral objective so much easier. Target is the bottom lane here for Trashy, though, as he heads down for this gank.
Good stun into MASH. Good headbutt by Conquan to buy some time, though.
Here he comes.
He's taking a whole lot of damage, and here comes Trashy. Alistar very low on health. He's got no way out of this one. Flashes for no avail. Point blank hit from Elise, and there's first blood. Well done, enemy.
Yep, able to drop off the pink ward on his way down through as well on the bottom side of mid lane. So NACS could just farm under his turret, hug the bottom side of the map as well. Nunu is getting some counter jungling done, but the first blood there, Elise early lead definitely coming into effect.
Yeah.
She's able to make her route through the enemy jungle pay off.
Even if you subtract 400 gold from first blood, Trashy would still be ahead in gold over Shrimp right now. So certainly the Nunu counter jungling not meaning a whole lot. Flares and Chris still in battle. Chris now out of mana and still 1 minute left on his teleport. If Elise makes her way top lane, Chris will lose a couple waves.
Looks like Shrimp wants to tank this turret here. Chris is already setting up barrels for the dive as well. If they can stick him close enough.
There's the attempt. Oh, Flares! He taunted Chris! That's not good! Turret shot comes through. The outplay by Flares. Oh no, Shrimp didn't get the ice ball in time to pull aggro.
All right, that was a massive play from Flares. We talked about him not having the best end of the season.
Yeah.
That was huge. Taunted them at the same time. He got both of them, and Chris was closer, so he got the first attack off and got tower aggro there. That was actually the perfect play that he could possibly have pulled off.
He had to taunt and get it on Gangplank.
Oh,
absolutely amazing.
Man.
And the thing is, Chris's oranges were down. He was using it for sustain as he was getting harassed by Flares. And look at this, a gank by Trashy in towards mid. Peak and Wolf forced back, and now in a matchup that's like, Cog's not supposed to lane well, but Cog's going to be fine in this lane.
That is absolutely the worst feeling as a jungler as well. When you go up to a lane as Shrimp and you're looking to make a gank for the laner and he just goes and dies before you can even do anything.
Oh, man.
Massive, massive difference in jungle pressure this game. NME are crushing it for the early game. We'll see if they can keep it up, though. They will probably want to transition to that dragon because Flares, because of that kill, he's far ahead in experience now as well as getting the gold. Even though he's down in CS, the experience advantage is going to be very big. Being able to pick up his early Vami Cinder, maybe he can get a wave shove going here.
Yeah, he is half level ahead right now, and despite his kill, he's only up 50 gold right now in the matchup.
Yeah,
so certainly
he was definitely getting bullied as far as CS, but interesting how we got a double lane gank coming here. It doesn't look like that'll work out.
Yeah, it looks like Chris is playing safely enough. Of course, Taunt in a Cocoon is plenty strong. Otter is sent back down to the bottom lane. Without a support near him, Body Drop is still missing and hidden on this side of the map, but Chris will not fall for it.
All right, will they wrap around for a dive here? Because they know that he doesn't have flash. And Elise is the premier tower diving champion. Looks like they should, because they have deep wards as well. I like what they're doing here. They got a lot of wards to see if there's anyone to come back. Anyone to support him.
Flank. Flares pulls aggro. In comes Body Drop. Stuns are going to get layered here. And now, can he drop aggro in time? Flares getting away from the ultimate, getting away from the turret. All is well. Kill goes again to the jungler. Trashy 2-0.
And on the bottom side, they're able to pull off as well. Good communication here from NME. Otter backs out from the turret. Alistar not level 6 quite yet, but still poses a very big threat. Combined with Nunu, they have plenty of health to be able to tank it, so nice job dodging out that one. And the NME just increased their lead. Yes, Shrimp is taking away this blue, but the exact same just happened on the other side. Trashy was able to snag it as well.
Too aggressive by Otter. He knows he's safe with Alistar not 6 and bonded up coming back in, but this turret lost a lot of health, so Coast you know, paid for that gank by getting a lot of turret damage down here. The game only 900 gold apart, which the turret will all but equalize. So you talked about, you know, watching that bottom lane turret health. It's about to pay off here. Shrimp also going to be able to easily solo this dragon.
All right, so enemy weren't able to take that window and actually get the... Uh-oh, they're actually going to go deep. He's still level 5.
Pop. Conquan will not get the stun on him, though. Enough knockback by Mash kept Otter from dealing any damage. Dragon picked up. They're aware of Nunu.
Yeah, that's actually very, very poor for NME. Not only did they fail their Shen gank, but they also arrived just late, and there's no dragon for them to take. So Flares is on the wrong side of the map. He's going to waste a whole bunch of time. He can't get anything done down there, so that huge experience advantage is also going to go to waste. Chris gets a lot of free alone time with his turret. Got to shove in the wave for free. This is exactly what Coach needed to get back into this.
Trashy stunned a minion. Doesn't even deal damage, but okay. And he's going to clear away top lane. Gets half of a wave, but yeah, this is a really good thing for Chris here to catch up. Sees players coming around through, and this gangplank can feel fine once again. Back to equal in gold now. Again, despite that kill, despite 2 deaths, Chris is on equal footing in this top lane.
Yeah, that was a lot of time there spent for players on the bottom side of the map without getting anything except a flash out of a Tristano, who's already one of the safest AD carries in the entire game.
Yeah.
Post level 6, now having 2 disengage abilities. So definitely good survival here by Coast. Able to snag the objective to try and start chaining their dragons and use that objective control, even though they had a poor early start.
What happens next? 900 gold down, despite the 3 kills. Flares will continue to play in this lane as best he can, down about 20 CS in this matchup. And the question is now, what's the next aggressive play going to be? Bot lane turret very low. That Coast can knock down soonish. Gangplank to get some more last hits. Plus 14 gold, killing 2 of them with the barrel and parlay. Of course, with Dragon off the field as well, there's not a lot to fight for. This Scuttle Crab will not mean much, but enemy heading the way down to the bottom side. Looking to clear away a couple of wards into this jungle. But I find it difficult for these guys to get much meaningfully done. Oh! Well, he got it.
They're not even really trying to keep anyone from Coast down here. It's just that they saw Nunu Shrimp up on their red quadrant, so they're like, you know what, we need to answer farm here so that this Nunu counter jungler is not going to hurt us. So we'll try and get it done, but Pekin Wolf able to get the soldiers to do his dirty work.
Just an early smite by Trash. Didn't think about the fact that the enemy could steal it. And wow, Chris even farming 2 lanes at once. 104 CS takes away the bot lane, makes sure that turret does not take damage, and it's really impossible for enemy to get any sieging done. Gangplank ulti, Azir's decent, Trist is okay at it. He'd even headbutt people away from the turrets that you really want. Ganking different for the mid lane, though. Pekin Wolf now getting pressed on the flash. Oh, both skill shots miss. Huh. A little over aggressive, nothing gained there. Pekin Wolf didn't even have to do much.
Yeah. I don't know what they're expecting out of that one. But Pekin Wolf doesn't even have to blow Summoner, so. Summoner wasted there by Trashy, NME.
All right, well, the gold stagnates at a 1,000 difference here. As Chris continues to play up against Flares, taunt comes in, plenty of damage still dealt. The make of a Sunfire Cape will make this trade slightly better over time. Gangplank now much more sort of burst-based. The passive only applies once, really. Instead of the old version where you stack it up, and it did plenty. So getting in the face of Gangplank tends to be the gameplay now.
Well, if you reset it with
smart barrels. But this early barrels take a long time to tick down. Later on, you're absolutely right, and it gets pretty crazy.
Ooh. Didn't use the parlay on the barrel, so you didn't get the extra money for all those little ones. Otter gets knocked away, though, at the same time as the Braum passive goes off.
And they don't get the last hit on a Conquan, yeah. Mash actually, with some really good knockbacks, it prevents the enemy dual lane game plan from really working here. Otter and Body Drop really not getting damage down. They are getting some CS, 112 to 108. But not a lot other gain. Flares finally gets Sunfire Cape, teleports back to lane. Of course, he has the ulti. Chris has no globals right now, but here comes the reveal. They want right again for Conquan. The stun should land. One hit will do it. It'll flash in, and Otter's going to land some of that, but Mash again saves face. Ignite will not kill him.
He lives.
An enemy cannot find kills.
Wow, and they burned both summoners off of the AD carry there. So Otter uses everything to try and get that kill. And the body drops both summoners as well. So that was 4 summoners on NME. And another Gangplank ult means they won't even get the turret damage afterwards.
Man, really nothing gained by these guys whatsoever.
But everything's spent for them too. That should trigger Coast to start targeting that bottom lane. All 4 summoners down for NME, plus Dragon coming up in 1 minute. So this is perfect for Coast to try and get right back in this one. They've already evened up the gold, and they can just get right back on that neutral objective control that they want to do with Nunu. The only thing that they had to use in that was the Gangplank ultimate, and it's going to come up fairly quickly.
Yeah, many cooldowns.
Is it going to match up with that Dragon?
No, it's 30-second plate. So that is going to be one small window that can be used. Also, no teleport for Chris, while as Flares does have Stand United. So that will be something to track here. It's a very lopsided top laner fight for joining up. Finally, bot turret goes down. That brings the gold back to actually now advantage for Coast. Again, despite being down 3 kills, they're crushing in farm, plus 36 in the top lane. Trinity Force now done. The question is, does Chris go back to the top lane? Does he walk to Dragon to secure the objective?
Yeah, I think that the Dragon stacking is pretty key for this team, but they're actually sending their AD carry top right now, so it doesn't look to be like it doesn't look like they want to rush to try and stack up to 5 dragons. I guess they're just going to try and shove down that top lane first, get the outer turrets first, use Tristana. We talked about once she gets one of the outer turrets, looks like they want to chain all of them first.
Yeah. So mismatched globals or not, they send the Gangplank away, and Trish will be happy to push top lane out. That did already give time for Otter to equalize the turrets down here. But there's a mismatched top lane now.
Yeah, enemy should take this opening because there's no way that enemy are going to save their top turret right now. And they do want to get that single dragon. Now is probably the easiest time for them to do it, just so they have the 6% for later. And they will slow down the Coast stacking, but there's not much time for them, and they're not going to get much damage on the secondary turret. I feel like they could have gotten it already. They're putting a lot of wards, though, so they're prepping it. Yeah, the dragon.
Okay.
So it looks like they're prepping it, and they're just going to be really safe about it. And they will end up grabbing the first one away. Maybe it costs them an extra one here, though, because Blood Boiled Tristana.
That's true. Flares does have taunt, so you have to give him some respect, but Mash just steps backwards. Yeah, he's playing the range so well. Tristana's attack range long enough to not be afraid here.
Oh, don't let that.
Gangplank ulti will not get the steal.
He didn't have smite, so it's...
Yeah, always a chance that goes wrong, but all is well. Now they're going to look for flares, maybe on a dive. Shrimp takes some damage, but all is okay. Inox shows to defend the turret. Down to half HP, though. That lane swap definitely doing good things for turret damage. Yeah. Though the dragon, of course, was taken by enemy.
Yeah, I think that was pretty big for enemy to grab that one. Coast definitely doing a good job of keeping up the pressure, though. Let's see if they get some more deep wards down. That pink ward on enemy's red quadrant has been in there from the very first invade that Shrimp did. Definitely a tricky spot that not many people just walk over. Ah, just as we speak of it, Inox finds it. The wave clear rotatos.
We're going to see mid lane now under fire. Conquan, the bodyguard for Pekin Wolf. But looks like it's all safe enough for Luden's Echo, Tear of the Goddess, Inox Kog'Maw here. 181 CS, still holding equal to Pekin Wolf. And the mid lane turret, honestly healthy enough, not really taking any major licks. But with Mash now coming around, maybe Coast can turn this one around. 2 turrets to 1 right now. Yeah. Lucian sent to the top lane, so we'll see Otter push that around.
It's really scary to go into the same lane as Chris right now, though. He's just completed the Trinity Force for the Gangplank. So you have to start giving respect to the barrels. Yeah, I don't think Otter can chance even getting an auto attack in here.
There is interesting gameplay around Lucian, though. Is basically you just press W or E, and you can double shot the barrel and knock him down.
Yeah, you can double shot him.
And we've seen him do it a couple of times here, but now Flare's in a long lane, getting jumped on by Shrimp as well as Mash. Rocket Jump, I believe, already used, but Ice Blasts will be some nice slowing. He's able to taunt himself away and all as well.
Yeah, they didn't want to keep up the chase. All right, so that means they should know. Oh, Chris already has a defensive ward up. He's got 2 defensive wards up, in fact. They should be able to give up this turret. All right. Recall there from Flares as well. It's even more dangerous because Shen could come in on the back of someone for that dive, so you have to respect it.
That seems like a missed opportunity by Coast, though. They didn't match the dual lane back up because mid lane wasn't... I mean, now I guess they actually can push in towards mid lane. They're going to try now, but Top lane out or lost for nothing.
Yeah, their little hope is that Inox is really, really low on mana right now, so they want to try and keep up the pressure while he has the base, but yeah, they weren't able to get, you know, secondary turret pressure while top lane, while enemy had 4 people top lane, so.
I felt like they could use Alistar to tower dive. Just headbutt pulverize the Kog'Maw, make him have to flash it, and if he does, then the turret goes down.
Well, missed opportunity maybe, and he gets back to base. Inox is almost back with the full mana bar.
Inox won't be here. This will be a turret after all. They weathered him down enough that he ran out of mana, had to recall, and there is the turret after all. So Coast continue that 1 turret lead. They're trading tit for tat throughout the last 5 minutes here, and they maintain that +1 as their mid outer does still stand. Peak and Wolf really not getting a sense of attrition here in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, it going this evenly, especially after how poor the start was for Coast, I think it's really strong for this Coast squad. Because yes, enemy do have the AP Kog'Maw, and you always have to respect AP Cog late game, but it looks like we lost a little.
We have the sound from the other spectator right now. One spectator's watching Gangplank. We have their sound. Midland's getting attacked though. Plenty of damage being dealt. Down very low actually, as Peak and Wolf is starting to get poked out by some pretty heavy items from this Kog'Maw. Needlessly large rod now on Inox.
Yeah.
Makes it a lot better for him.
Starting to see why so many people like to pick Poke into his ear. Chunk him out before the fight even starts.
He just does not have that same kind of range. The
Barrels
wave clear does some damage.
Early though. Used really early, so I think that goes down automatically now.
All right. Turrets equalized. Enemy finding a good siege off the back of their Kog'Maw here. And all 6 outer turrets now down in this game. We sit at an 800 gold lead for enemy, so close stuff. Dragons equal, turrets equal, gold pretty close.
Yeah. Enemy haven't really been able to utilize the Shen stand united very effectively quite yet. We'll see if they try and make something happen now that all the outer turrets are down and there's more area for them to work with. They do get a flash out of Peak and Wolf. He's going to have to be a bit more cautious now.
But even then, the playmaking of enemy is fairly limited. There's no really easy Shen targets. There's no like Evelyn or like really hardcore divers.
Yeah, I mean, you want to get a pick here with Trashy on Elise and have the Shen come in to back him up. Because if you have to use Repel to go in, then she loses a lot of her defenses and escapability. But that will rely on how much vision they can get down to see where Coast are allocating their champions. As of right now, Inox still very happily stacking up on his Kog'Maw. Post level 11, feeling good about that.
And he's got the blue buff fairly recently, using it to spam Peak and Wolf. No good way of healing himself, so life is just kind of difficult for the man. And we sit chill for a while. Dragons back up in 45 seconds. So far just played the safe normal game. No really big intense dives have happened that weren't scattered out and immediately repelled. Trades back and forth, but he's got mana regen, so this low mana pool won't matter too much.
Actually, some pretty good moves there by Peak and Wolf.
Yeah,
it's hard to outtrade Kog'Maw in those long distance trades.
Phreak gets a smite down and takes away the scuttle grab, but he is now 50 seconds away from smite, so he will not have it for this impending dragon.
Yeah, even if he does, I think it will be fairly difficult unless Kog'Maw, Inox can come down. Wow, he needs to save up his mana actually, even though he has blue buff. If he charges up the ultimates and gets those stacking, it will restrict his poking. He does need to get poked down before they go for this.
Goes to there first, and they've got all of the vision actually. There's a couple of wards around, but Epic's going to just get rid of that anyway. Gangplank's still in the top lane. Chris is safe. Blue Turn get used, and they say, yeah, Coast, you deserved it. Well done. And there's Dragon. Yeah,
not the end of the world there for enemy, though. That's why it was so important to take that small window we saw earlier in the game to grab that single Dragon. So they do have this mid-game 6%, and they do delay the 5 stacking there from Coast.
Yeah, sure.
Coast able to get some deep wards on both sides of the enemy jungle, though. So they're looking to press forward with this 5-on-5.
See what they can gain. Of course, tier 2s are very hard to take.
Chris comes down the river.
Interesting. Didn't clear away wards on Baron. So far, it's all he's really gaining for himself. Cooldown boots in, BS ward as well. The Infinity Edge should be next. Shrimp still farming up a Storm, 75 CS on Nunu. A pretty high mark for a champion like that, who typically has pretty low scores.
Nunu's pretty, especially trailed.
Yeah, I know he can farm fast. I just feel like he doesn't typically try to. Like when I see Nunu's. That's pretty much matching equal to Trashy. And now it looks like the enemy's going to look for a play up in the top lane. Will they get Chris? He pops one of the barrels with the Moose
Flash
speed.
also, so I doubt.
Yeah, all is well. And once again, the dive's unable to do anything. So Coast playing with 0 kills and yet winning in objectives.
Yeah, 0 kills and the gold is even, but there's so much map control from Coast. Talked about their focus for the neutral objectives here, that they're able to pull off with how much zone control they have. If they can get the wards down, it's very difficult for enemy to move through even their own jungle to get there. Gangplank barrels plus Nunu holding the front line there for an Azir on the backside is really hard to fight 5-on-5 for enemies. So that's why I really think they need to go with something for split pushing and try and use Shen. Uh-oh, but Shen's under fire here. Flares has to worry about himself.
Chris doing a lot of damage. Taunt comes through. Switch on a run. Flares does have
here
teleport.
comes Trashy.
Death's Daughter hits him. And out he goes. At least buys enough time to get out.
Woo, yeah, chased off. He's going to have to recall. Thankfully, he does have Stand United, so if something breaks out, he can arrive from the fountain.
But here we go. Mass Buck coming through. Mid lane tier 2 under hit now. And the 2/3 pushing Coast back for a bit. Chris missing the ulti is slightly less powerful now.
Yeah. I think this the team fight's going to all come down to, can Conquan get a combo on Inox?
Yeah.
If he's able to get to the backline and interrupt that poke, that takes out most of the damage from the enemy squad.
It's a stun. Shrimp taking a lot of damage. Runs through a couple of wards and really gets punished for it. He's low now. The Kog'Maw poke not quite landing on him, though. Riley's Crystal Scepter done, so more slows. Inox can now chain down targets even easier, but is missing his blue buff. He's got to be careful about his mana pool on this one.
Yeah, he wants to keep up the poke. Does find a key one onto Peekenwolf.
Ooh, and it enables the culling as well. Conquan down to half as well. This could be enough damage to make this turret fall.
Wow, Flares uses his teleport to get to the bottom side and stop Chris's split pushing. Looks like they are going to give up the tier 2 here for Coast, though.
No, they're going to go for the engage right now. Big damage comes through. Shenalty popped onto Otter, and Conquan taking big pain, but that leaves Inox alone. Ulti and damage. Mash goes in. He's going to get the kill, and he's going to rocket jump away from the Acathian surprise.
Well, thought it was going to come down to Conquan getting to that backline, and he did it. They're still in it, too. Another combo to get Flares.
Flares slowed down. Someone he'll use will save body drop for now, but Chilling Smite comes through, and Chris gets in with the parlay. Flares going to be the 3rd death as well. Big fight for Coast.
Ooh, Conquan was able to find the AP Kog'Maw there. They rout enemy, and they switch over to Baron here. This is very dangerous. Trash is also out of mana, so he can't even provide much support for Otter here. I think Otter's got to give up too much distance. If he goes in for a steal, this is a suicide steal.
Yeah, no smite at all. Not going to try at all. Blue team is slain. Baron, Nashor, and Coast off a 25-minute team fight. Take a commanding lead now in game 1.
All right, let's take a look at the huge play from Conquan. They weren't expecting this engage. I wasn't expecting it either because the Cocoon was already on Peekenwolf, but Chris was able to teleport in from behind and flank them, opening it up so Mash could jump aggressively at Inox. They basically isolated Inox in the very beginning of that fight, and enemy, the entire rest of their squad, ran up mid lane. But Chris had cut them off, so very poor disengage there from enemy, but really good opening from Conquan and a teleport from Chris on the backside to cut him off.
It all lined up very, very well. Flares, I think, also picked the wrong guy for the ulti. Lucian's much more easier to get away than a Kog'Maw there, and the damage seemed to actually make him pay because he got close to killing Mash in the one-on-one before Chris came in and landed a Q.
Yeah, I mean, the AP Cog's got to be the heart of this. Uh-oh, Conquan pops his ultimate.
Big slow still landing, but Culling does basically no damage thanks to the damage reduction on that ability. Death Daughter!
Oh, man!
Chris says, thanks for the gold, and this game is starting to fall apart for NME eSports. 4 kills picked up in 2 minutes.
That's why you upgrade the true damage. Nice shot there from Chris. He was able to find the kill onto Otter. Now with that down, should be a pretty easy answer here for the mid lane. Baron up minions as well. Oof. The only question is, will they decide to send a person over and buff up the bottom lane as well? Because they had bottom lane pressing. Let's direct the Azir turret and head down to drag and keep that stacking going. Number 3 should be very free.
Yeah. And Coast's going to take control of this one. You know, it's funny, Chris on Toy Soldier Gangplank. It's one of those toys that gets recalled for being unsafe for children. Warning, the gun is real. might kill your mid laner. 5-year-olds, please do not play with this one. And Dragon number 3 picked up very cleanly and easily. 5 turrets already gone as well, and Coast.
Hey, they got 100 gold back for that Azir turret, though.
All right, that's something. These Azir turret assault, but they killed a couple of minions and even earned some cash for Peek and Wolf. All right.
Otter did go into second item rally, so he could try and get the slows for chaining and chase somebody if they do find somebody and get them caught out.
It's a cool mix because it sets up for the Lucian culling as well. Like, I think they picked Lucian as a poke AD carry in a weird way.
Yeah.
Like, when you're going for the siege, you're like, all right, hit R. And the guy can't get away from it. It's a cool idea.
And they've already done it. Like, they tried that combo. The only problem is 2 times it was Alistar who was the one receiving all the poke damage. So yeah. Conquan able to not only take the damage, but also re-engage afterwards.
And everyone who's not Alistar can steer clear of it. I'm proud of that one.
All right. All right.
Zeke's Harbinger done. Mash ready to have bonus crit chance. Last Whisper third coming for him, so a greedier high damage build that'll spike very soon.
All right, well.
Damage to flares.
Yeah, Coast also, they've been able to move their ward line really deep up into the enemy jungle. So they can try and herd them over towards this top outer turret, the last secondary turret that is standing.
Herd them over? Is that not on purpose?
I see you, Phreak. Gotta give you something.
I appreciate that. Top lane under fire, though. Mash gonna do plenty of damage, and Conquan, yeah, gonna take some of the hits. Q does land from body drop, but does not do anything like his name would suggest.
Yeah, plus the problem for them is that Chris right now on Gangplank has the 3-item Gangplank completion here, so he's continually going to shove flares in and do damage while he's doing it. Does get the barrel chunk, so he's going to have a lot of pressure here in the split push. And even though Flare's going to rise with Stand United, you know, Chris does have teleport as well and the ultimate, so they're going to slowly lose ground on both sides for NME as Coach try and keep up the 1-1-3.
That's without Baron buff as well, so this is not even like cooldown gated or buff limited. It's just like, yeah, this is how our normal team comp worked with our gold lead right now. The top lane turret shield has regenerated itself. It's 1 hit away from dropping.
Yeah, I think the only person that would be able to hold a lane without losing turret damage is Inox, and he's trying to hold mid versus the Azir.
Oh, here comes top lane, and there you go. Backdooring or not, no one cares. And another turret falls down.
Yeah, very impressive stuff here from Coast opening up in game 1. They did get a very, very strong draft phase, though. Let's see if they can close it out.
Yeah, it looks like it's been so hard for NME to get anything done now with this team composition. Just speed it out very, very quickly. Plenty of money in for Chris. He's rich on this Gangplank. Total money earned by Parlay is 1,500 in 30 minutes. 31.45. He's afforded all 3 upgrades. Done a great job Parlay farming.
Yeah, strong champion.
Yeah, a strong player. This is what Chris has done to almost every challenger top laner the entire split long. You can see 110 CS over his opponent. This is normal for Chris, by the way. This is what he does basically every single time.
Yeah, and then he goes 1 versus 3 solo invade onto the blue buff.
Yeah, and occasionally that goes really badly for him.
And crashes the game.
Hopefully not. I mean, we're still in it, but yeah, so a quick pause. We'll see what that ends up being for in a little bit. We'll keep you guys updated on this one. But this is Coast actually looking a bit sharper than normal.
Yeah.
They've actually done a really good job of knocking turrets down from what they've been doing in Challenger.
And this is Coast with a recovery. The early game was all NME. NME had the good early moves. They started off, had an extra jungle quadrant of farm to start with. Flares had a good solo play in the 1 versus 2. There were multiple points here for NME where they had a really good opening, and it was just Coast coming back in that mid game. As well as sneaking that dragon when Flares teleported down bottom to gain them a huge, like almost a full minute window where they caught back up in overall map pressure.
Yeah, and it was interesting too because for a lot of it, like NME's composition doesn't come on until Kog'Maw turns 11, right? Needs Luden's Echo, needs 11, needs the 2nd or 3rd blue buff.
Well, kind of, right? They have the opportunity. Yeah, right. They have the opportunity to try and make bottom lane plays.
Yes, and they try
with Elise and Shen. And to be fair, they got off one Elise gank down bottom lane, which worked out, but Shen ultimate flopped.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. The second part of that point was that the bot lane really couldn't get anything done there. Mash and Conquan, despite getting ganked killed the turret in the 2-on-2, so it was almost like a 2-on-3, and they still won it. Quick update, guys, by the way, we're going to be swapping Anox's computer. He was having some kind of issue, so that will be a couple of minutes. It's not a crazy long turnaround, but we will be here in the pause screen for a little bit longer.
Yeah. And Inox is the hope here for NME. On the AP Kog'Maw, he's kept his CS up. He actually has the second highest in the game. Really hard to keep up with Gangplank, but
yeah,
he has
377 in 13 minutes, by the way, for Chris.
Yeah, Gangplank cheats because he has AoE, and he also farms multiple lanes, as we've seen with his ultimate. So
that's true.
That's not fair. But yeah, Inox is going to be the hope here for NME. They're going to try and hold on at their inhibitor turrets. Same thing you usually do with Kog'Maw. Try and stall out. Try and get that poke down. And once they have an opening for the poke, maybe even if a stray Elise Cocoon does land, try and get that burst. But yeah, NME, they were really hoping to make work with the bottom lane and with a global up top a bit earlier. It is a kill bottom lane with the Braum Lucian. Yeah. Trying to start things off, so try and focus a lot of people down there. But weren't, as you said, they weren't able to get control of that lane and weren't able to get the turrets knocking in their favor. Yeah, and a lot of it was really good play by both Mash and Conquan. They would use either Buster Shot or Headbutt to knock the Lucian away, prevent the tracks from being triggered, and prevent the stun from coming down. So, as much as it is, NME unfortunately not getting the pressure they wanted, it was still Coast doing a really good job to prevent that. So still props due on the other side. Either way, as we are swapping away Inox's computer, we're going to toss it over to the analyst desk to talk about the game some more.
Thank you, gentlemen. We got a little bit of time mid-game here to break things down. Don't always get that opportunity. So in doing so, though, I want to start from the beginning. We saw the Gangplank come out, first pick there for Chris, and he's doing rather well with it already in game, even with the pressure that was put up in the top lane by NME.
Yeah, he got a little bit dunked on early on in the game with the 2 kills, but then they completely just left him alone, and Shen's not going to solo put the lane pressure on the GP, and when Elise went elsewhere, was not able to snowball any of the kills off of Gangplank. So Chris has recovered and then some.
Yeah, I mean, after they had 3 kills, they should have just kept putting on pressure. Maybe have some kind of damage on Elise, or maybe even Trinity on Shen, just something to be able to kill them. Because after consecutive failed ganks, they kind of just relieved all pressure, and eventually they got outscaled.
Yeah, things are looking really grim.
For
grim.
NME.
For NME, right? At least in game 1.
Right. Yeah, we have a substantial gold lead now, and actually I want to take a look at the replay that netted them this gold lead. We're going to go 25 minutes into the game. Big mid lane fight for Coast here, ending up 3-0 and a Baron on the back end of it. Yeah,
this particular one, Kiwi and I were talking about how NME was probably done for at this point in the game. Like, they had 0 kills, but the gold was even. Looking at the scaling, it was very hard for NME to actually get damage on our priority targets, and the ability for a Coast to just deal sustained damage with Gangplank and Azir is really high. And this in particular was started because the teleport was used top lane by Shen, and Conquan just finds the right initiation, and because Shen wanted to end the fight so soon, he ends up ulting in on Otter, whereas Inox was the one that needed protection. And honestly, even if he was a little bit behind the rest of his team, he cannot realistically single himself out like that, trying to run around the corner. We mentioned the Death's Daughter as the early upgrade on the Gangplank, get some nice true damage in on the backside of that one. And honestly, Coast has such strong Baroning potential after this that the fact they could get 2, even without the 3rd kill, they probably still could have done Baron. And that just, honestly, it feels like it's decided the game. We'll see if there's a comeback later.
Yeah, only about a minute or so left until we get back onto the Rift. So let's look at, though, how NME can get back into this game. If there is a way out for this team, being that they're primarily a 2-threat team as compared to a 3-threat team on the other end of the Rift, what's going to be the way they do that, Kiwi?
It sounds really negative, but I think the only way NME can win is if Coast tragically just slips, just the tragic slip of every kind of hero kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, in some way, if Inox can land enough Kog'Maw poke without getting zoned by the Nunu and the Alistar, and is able to get things on Peck and Wolf, Chris, and Mash, all 3 of them somehow with a bunch of Kog'Maw stuff. Other than that, it's
there's Kog'Maw somehow chunking out Azir and Tristana, but yeah, I don't think he's going to be able to get past Alistar and Nunu.
All right, so a lot riding on that Kog'Maw and his ability to poke people out. You know, I want to get your preliminary thoughts on how Champion Select went, looking at the prioritization that each of these teams are putting on certain champions as well as the bans. Because we saw a Yasuo, Fiora, Kalista out of Coast. You know, Kalista generally falling as a red side ban, here a blue side ban. The Fiora and the Yasuo, pretty new to us, as we don't see them very often in the LCS.
And then Azir was like the 4th pick.
Right.
Yeah.
We've been watching so much LPL and LCK because they've been doing the regional qualifiers the last few days that watching the draft phase in this is a stark difference. But honestly, every team has their own individual strengths and weaknesses. And at least at the level of trying to enter in the LCS, we don't have too many people with ultimate Azir mastery, so it makes sense that he falls down a little bit. I think Gangplank will probably be a priority ban or first pick for the majority of the series. I'm a little bit surprised they even let it go through to Chris.
What about that Lucian pick?
I think Lucian pick was just to feel comfortable. I feel like it's not the most confident pick. It doesn't really. It has a really safe laning. The damage output doesn't even compare really to Kog'Maw or Vayne, and to mid to late. And I think it was just way too safe. And especially when you have a tank Elise and a Shen top, you have a tank top, even a support bottom with that's tank. So I feel like they need to really talk to the team and see how everybody's building, because I absolutely think NME does not have enough damage for this team comp.
All right, well, with that, we are ready to hop back into the games. The teams are ready. We're going to send it over to our casters for the call.
Thank you very much, Dash. Great hosting the day so far, and we're getting ourselves back into the game in just a few seconds here. And yeah, I kind of agree with what the analysts were saying. This looks really bleak for Enemy.
Yeah, they were talking about the Lucian also. This is pre-buff Lucian. This is 515, not 516 yet, so those haven't even come in yet.
Yeah, I think it was there like literally for the ultimate to be a poke AD carry that could help get someone down all the way to 0 if you land the Azir
And like,
slow.
you can try and go with kill lanes like Lucian, Braum, and catch somebody out if you have globals like Shen on your top lane or TF on mid lane, but it all depends on that early game. And Coast have been able to just barge right through the early game, and now you're facing a GP Azir Tristana with the front line of Alistar Nunu.
Yeah, you're not getting through those guys. I mean, it's interesting because like it's you know, a poke-based team, right, or even a pick-based team as well, and these guys were never able to set up around Dragon and set up those kinds of fights. It was okay, the lanes might work, but also Dragon could work. You can have the Fog of War advantage, and that never happened. Shrimp kept that vision control quite well throughout the game, and no one really ever had pressure on their lane, so how are you going to set up first when every single lane's pushed in?
Yeah, I think it was strong by Coast not to unravel during that early game. They were able to stay calm. Even Chris going down 0-2 pretty quickly. Keep his head in the game. It is kind of relaxing to lane against Shen, actually, so yeah, not very stressful.
Sit there and farm, no big deal. Chris, Phantom Dancer, 4th item, by the way, that puts him at, I think, 90% crit, if my mental math is correct here. 80%.
He's not going to build a second Harbinger. That's probably going to be a Frozen Heart for Nunu. But he could.
Yeah, he's got another cloth armor there. That's
you could have Harbingers active on both Trist and Azir.
Oh man, that would be pretty fun, but not gonna happen here. Mash, see, that's what the comp was supposed to do, get a ton of damage. Peak Wolf's low as well. They have to give up a lot of this wave, but guess what? Gangplank presses R, and suddenly that whole push just stops. That was the poke. That was the poke they needed.
Well, they got it, but they had to trade ultimates there. Chris, actually, did he cut off a wave before he moved up too? Uses the Ghost Blade to just transition up the top lane as well, and Flares is just trying his darndest to keep up.
Yeah, well, Peeking with Home Guard's back in, and it's enough pressure that suddenly Coast are able to defend the inhibitor turret.
I feel like the blue buff becomes the #1 priority for NME now, and they haven't been able to get one for Inox. They need to get one on spawn for him, because that's what they have to play around.
We'll see if they can control that, because yeah, Inox being useful, you can see the impact he can have in this game. But unfortunately, the last siege was around the inhibitor turret, which you can home guard back to and defend. It's not around this Dragon. And guess what? Dragon's up now. Coast looking at their 4th, and yet again, they are there first.
Yep, and it looks like they're going to give this one up too. Enemy going to try and shove down mid, but they won't be able to get it in time. Maybe they zone him out. That's actually a good. This is actually a good engage. This is a good position for Coast. They can come in behind with the Alistar and get a free line straight to the Kog'Maw. Yeah, Enemy, that's pretty much just a bluff trying to move down mid lane there. Coast actually going to try and cut him off here.
little bit of damage done by Chris, gonna put Trashy to half. Cocoon lands, eats the oranges, and now Body Drop forced to defend the team, but a big knockup comes through. Here's the engage. Body Drop goes down despite the ulti coming across from him. Taunt up to the front line, but how much damage is really left now? And wow, Flares crushed in the front line here, taking so much damage. Coast not really hurting.
Coast actually don't even have to chase here. They got the huge win out of that. They can just clear out all the vision.
Look to take out Baron now.
NACS is running really low on mana too. He does not have a blue buff. He's gonna run out.
Coast have plenty
It's
of
down.
health. There's the push. There's blue team slaying Baron Nashor for the second time. Coast very far ahead. 36 minutes in. Only 5 kills.
That call for enemy to shove down mid lane instead of retreat or try and even contest Dragon or anything like that was just...
I think they could have
It was
straight rushed
very,
even.
very desperate. It was very desperate, though, and it's really weird to rush down mid lane when you didn't even have like a minion wave up towards the turret, because you know you don't have that much time. This is 35 minutes into the game. Dragon is a trivial objective to take. You can burn it down very quickly, and they got cut off inside Coast territory. Very easy cut off there from Chris. Didn't even have to teleport in because he was just top lane and just walked right down. So now Baron up a second time here for Coast, and this should mean inhibitor turrets are going to be under fire shortly.
Shouldn't be hard for them. 11,000 gold puts them up here. Coast looking to take game 1 in their road back into the LCS. Revamped lineup and looking pretty solid. Bot lane being pushed up by Tristana. The whole team on this side of the map. Chris does have all of his globals up right now. Summoner and Ultimate included. Flares has to hide down in his bottom lane. He's getting completely passed by everyone here. 160 minions in the top lane matchup. He's behind every other carry lane as well. Even Nunu's encroaching on his gold income here. Goes to control over a blue buff, so you talked about... Oh, Shrimp!
Nunu doesn't have to help damage a blue buff this stage in the game. We talk about Dragon being burned down quickly.
Yeah.
Azir can like 4-shot a blue buff. He waits around until the last second to add an auto attack to help take it down.
Why even bother, Shrimp? Oh well.
Ha, 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 ha,
He's
ha,
so
ha,
good
ha,
at
ha.
last hitting objectives. He's practicing.
Yeah.
Can I last hit my Azir with an auto attack?
True.
Imagine what a Smite's going to do against
Hey, you know what? Azir got the last hit on Baron, so he was just
Pay in the
proving
back.
that he can do it too. Payback there for Shrimp.
All right. Easy wave clear. Chris looking good in this matchup. Will not be maxing his crit chances, going for a Spectre's Cowl in his last item slot there.
All right, well, can Inox pull off the miracle hold here? AP Kog'Maw, no blue buff.
Yep, Chris already knocked on the top lane, and Flares can't fight him. He's got so damn much damage as this Gangplank runs around incredibly fast as well. Chunks down everything, just goes for the inhibitor itself. Mostly ignores Flares, actually. Does not hit him, even though he do plenty of damage. Gets the inhibitor by himself, and now Chris on the run. Gets taunted, blows up a barrel. Still got to be careful of this one. Pops the ulti, and he's going to turn back into this one. He's got plenty of crit chance. Trashy, wow, can't even do anything but watch, and down he goes. Bot lane now under fire as well. All the crit you need on Mash, and inhibitor turret number 2 is down. Number 3 is down as Peekaboo took down the mid lane. Chris, of course, is helping. This will be all 3 inhibitors taken down in a 30-second span.
Yep, that's going to be Coast just closing the noose here. Enemy going to have to watch the Nexus turrets fall. Man, Gangplank just is so ridiculous at this point because he can perma buy Elixir of Wrath and heal up almost as much as a remove Scurvy with
yeah,
pretty much
true.
every
He's
shot.
going to kill Body Drop. Blocks him the damage. Shrimp wants in. Maybe overextends for it, though, but he's tanky enough to not really pay for that. Oh, transgressions don't mean much. Chris, 480 CS now, crushing it as far as the farm game is concerned.
They could honestly stay there and just with the help of triple super minions flooding in, if they just stayed in the base and didn't even get near the Nexus turrets,
Yeah.
you can just watch your minions
Minions win the game for you.
win the game for you. Just shepherd them in, and the threat of damage would be able to finish it out now. But they decide to recall instead. So maybe something to clean up there could end the game a little bit quicker, but honestly, even giving that window is not that big of a deal.
Yeah, the last shopping trip gives Chris Spirit Visage. It gives an elixir of Magus Elixir. What's the Brilliance for Peek and Wolf, and the last few items come through. Even some magic resist on Mash just to make sure it's all safe. The big items are coming through. So here comes the final push, the Death Knell. And Coast have to consider, do they wait 1 minute for Dragon and give a ton of farm back over to enemy? Let them gain experience, let them gain gold, or do you push in right now? My vote is actually to push in.
Yeah, I want to see the game ended. I'm pretty sure especially with maybe even if they didn't have triple super minions. But especially with this lead and with the 3 inhibitors down, they actually don't even have to take a fight. It's up to enemy to try and take a fight before minions flood into their base.
Yeah.
If you're enemy right now, you're looking for the first person you see, try and all in. This is
Hope it works somehow.
Exactly. This is your desperation move. As soon as you see somebody, you have to go for it, or minions will slowly win the game.
All right, Otter on 4 items and with a Zeke, so there's going to be plenty of damage coming out from this Lucian now that he's level 17.
They want Dragon number 5.
Wow, they're going to play for it. They give away a fair bit of farm, though. That does give a decent chunk of golden XP. The gold lead right now, 12,000.
Are any inhibitors respawning soon?
No, they've got plenty of time. It's just gold income. So they play the safe road. Dragon 5 is picked up here 41 minutes in.
It's not a complete victory unless you go Dragon 5, I guess.
Yeah, well, 2 Barons, 5 Dragons. They're going to get 11 turrets as well. Big fantasy point score for Coast, trying to make people realize to pick them in the next season. Inox chunked out, though. Can't wave clear much, and here comes the push. Here they lead into the front lines. The team is there for the Nexus turrets themselves. Ulti in for body drop. Here comes the engage. Can they find it? Chris down to half. Conquan not taking a whole bunch of pain. Shrimp zones him out, and the ulti's going to buy even more time. 1,600 damage from the barrels here, and just everything is getting destroyed now. 1 turret's gone. Here's the next. Flares gets the taunt. Peek and whoops the target, and they might just take him down, but is it going to be enough? The Nexus is laid bare. Here comes the push in for Coast. They close out game 1. 2 more, and Coast are back in the LCS.
Yeah, even with the early game plays from enemy, a very convincing win for Coast. Nice transition out of it.
525 minions killed by Chris. 20.7 thousand gold.
Gameflag is such a cheater.
He almost did as much damage to champions as AP Cogmom.
And he's also getting bonus gold on a lot of those minions, too.
Oh, of course, of course.
That's why he can just continuously buy the Elixir of Wrath and just constantly keep himself buffed.
He couldn't have bought any more items that game. He was beyond rich. So, all right. There went game 1. Analyst S said during their brief interlude in the middle of the game when we had the pause that they expect to see him probably gone the rest of the series.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gangplank.
I assume so.
And the thing is, Coast picked blue for their games 2 and 4, and Enemy picked red for games 1, 3, and 5. Enemy want the mid lane counter pick, which means they give away first pick priority. Azir was not that first pick worthy champion, went very late into the pool. Enemy was happy to wait on the jungle pick, and they got to steal away Elise. But Gangplank's really big, and Fior's really big, and Chris is a dominant top laner, and Flares has been getting destroyed all split long. They can't give Chris these big high impact champions.
I would, if I was enemy, I would probably rethink actually the whole draft phase right now, because targeting Shrimp actually didn't even pay dividends at all. Shrimp didn't have to carry that. Shrimp just, he tried to keep up, he tried to counter jungle. Exactly. That's going to be the number 1 thing to rethink. But I'm saying you can use the bans they used on Shrimp.
Right.
On the bigger carry champions.
Yeah, I think the difficulty is trying to get them both pinned down, because one can take over the game. It's going to be hard. That's my first thought on the go. We'll see if they can do it over in game 2. But to further break down the game, let's send it over the dash and the analyst desk.